Dom is a petty criminal on the outer perimeter of gangland London. He's a bit of a car crash of a man, really. He finds him. You find him at the beginning of the film, at the end of a 12-year stretch in prison. It's a sentence that could have been shortened had he possibly grasped up the rest of the people involved in what you find out was a heist. But he didn't, he kept quiet. He's sort of old-fashioned crook in that he's got morals and rules that he lives by. And he's an explosive and poetic and strangely funny, yet violent and scary man. Part of me knew deep down, having read it, that I had to play him. I so wanted to play him. It was odd. I'm not saying there's a lot of him in me, but there were sides of him that I knew I had never been allowed to entertain before, and wanted to. The film in itself is very individual. And that's what makes it so exciting. You know, it does have the elements that are familiar. He's got a little bit of the sort of crime scene. It's got a little bit of swagger, of London swagger. It's got a little bit of, you know, the kind of humour that maybe we've seen before. The sentiment of a man trying to discover himself. All these familiar elements, but put together in a way that's unique. And the best way to describe it is the name of the film. It's about an undescribable man, Dom Hemingway. And it's all I can say is it's an hour and a half in his company, and he will shock you, he will make you laugh, he will titillate you, he will excite you, and you know, it's like going down the pub with him for an hour and a half, and it's worth it. Richard Shepard writes in a very particular way. An awful lot of the impact and the extraordinary rants, soliloquies you could call them, that Dom has were obviously very impactful off the page, but also the tempo that he writes in between dialogue, the fluidity and the pulse that he writes at is really engaging. And it was a script unlike any I'd ever read. It was a part unlike any I'd ever been considered for. And there was something both incredibly scary about him as a character to sort of take on, and also completely unavoidable.